In 1932, Australia was in the midst of a very peculiar crisis. It wasn't a war against another country or even a human enemy. No, this was a war against birds, specifically the emu, a large flightless bird native to Australia. This bizarre conflict became known as the Great Emu War, and it stands as one of the strangest episodes in military history. The roots of the conflict trace back to the aftermath of World War I. Many Australian soldiers returned home and were granted land in Western Australia to farm. But as the Great Depression hit, these farmers struggled to grow crops and make ends meet. To make matters worse, in 1932, thousands of emus, up to 20,000 by some accounts, began migrating inland from the coast. Attracted by the newly planted wheat fields, they swarmed the farmland, eating crops and causing devastation. The farmers, already battling economic hardship, turned to the government for help. In response, the Australian military stepped in. Led by Major G.P.W. Meredith of the Royal Australian Artillery, the plan was simple. Send soldiers armed with Lewis machine guns to reduce the emu population and protect the farms. But things didn't go according to plan. The war began in November 1932, with Meredith and his men ready to engage the emus. At first, they thought it would be easy. After all, how hard could it be to take down a flock of birds? However, the emus proved to be surprisingly elusive. They were fast, highly mobile, and able to scatter quickly at the sound of gunfire. The soldiers found it nearly impossible to target them effectively. As one of the soldiers later remarked, the emus were like an army of well-coordinated guerrilla fighters. They moved in small groups, darting between the trees and bushes, making it difficult to take accurate shots. Even when the machine guns managed to hit a few, it barely made a dent in the population. In one particularly disastrous attempt, the soldiers tried to ambush a group of over 1,000 emus. But their machine guns jammed, and most of the birds escaped unharmed. By the end of the first week, only a few dozen emus had been killed, and the situation was becoming a national embarrassment. Despite Meredith's efforts, it soon became clear that the emus were winning. In fact, the emus became so skilled at dodging the soldiers' bullets that the government eventually called off the operation after just a month. The official tally? Around 1,000 emus killed, but with over 19,000 still wreaking havoc on the farmland. Major Meredith later commented, with a touch of dark humor, that the emus could face machine guns with the invulnerability of tanks. The soldiers had lost the war, and the emus continued to roam free. In the aftermath, the Australian government sought other methods to control the emu population, such as encouraging hunting by civilians and installing better fences to protect crops. But the Great Emu War went down in history as a laughable, albeit frustrating, failure for the military. The Great Emu War remains a quirky chapter in Australian history. It's a reminder of how even modern technology can be humbled by the forces of nature, or in this case, by a group of fast, flightless birds. Today, the emu is still a symbol of Australia, appearing proudly on the nation's coat of arms, standing alongside the kangaroo, perhaps as a tribute to their unlikely victory in this most unusual war.